I am Felix's white moonlight. Everyone says he loves me as if his life depends on it. But just 1 month after we broke up, he is going to marry my former best friend. And my former best friend is already 3 months pregnant. So, on the day of their wedding, I wore a fake pregnancy belly and arrived as promised. He went crazy. Whose child is it? How dare you cuckold me? At this moment, Sam, a big shot in the Beijing circle, suddenly appeared and held me in his arms. The child is mine. Well, how can someone be so eager to be a happy father? On the stage, a pair of newlyweds are taking their vows amid everyone's blessings. Everyone has a happy expression on their faces, except for me with a fake smile. I don't have the slightest intention to bless them, because this pair of newlyweds, one is my ex-boyfriend who just broke up with me a month ago. The other is my former best friend who I have known for 5 years. And the two of them have been secretly involved with each other behind my back. Now the bride is already 3 months pregnant. When it comes to the part of exchanging rings on the stage, the waiter suddenly brings a ring box to me. The host holds the microphone and says, "Welcome our lucky guest to present the rings to the bride and groom." As the host's voice falls, a beam of light just shines on me. I look at the two people on the stage. One shows mockery, and the other has unconcealed pride in his eyes. I don't know how many people among the guests are watching my joke. After all, almost everyone knows that Felix has been chasing me for 4 years. His brothers all think behind his back that I am deliberately being coy. Now ending up in such a situation, I deserve it. Jenny, send up the ring quickly. Don't delay the auspicious time. Someone among the guests maliciously urges me to go on stage. I pinched the palm of my hand and tried hard to maintain a fake smile. Under the coaxing, I went on stage. The bride, Bella, immediately wants to hold my arm, but even when I avoid her, she still smiles. Jenny, you and Felix have broken up for a month. When we get married, you will bless. Ugh. I cover my mouth and make a vomiting sound, interrupting her tea-talking words. Felix's mouth curls up in a sneer. Jenny, if you can't stand me marrying someone else, you don't have to come. Don't come and make trouble again. I put one hand on my stomach and press down the fluffy maternity dress. Immediately, my stomach shows a bulging curve. Sorry, the child is too noisy. What were you saying just now? I didn't hear clearly. Felix grabs my hand. His voice is filled with anger. You are pregnant? Is there a problem? I look directly at him, with a cold expression. Felix's loss of control makes the people below start whispering. Bella's face is ugly as she tugs at his arm. Felix, it's time for us to exchange rings. But the next second, Felix throws her off and forcefully pulls me out of the wedding banquet hall. Behind is Bella's urgent shout. In response to her is only Felix's back without looking back. Felix, let go. I struggle, but I can't break free from his restraint no matter what. He presses me against the wall and angrily punches beside my ear. Whose child is it? How dare you cuckold me? I have been with him for a year, but our intimate relationship has never reached the final step. Naturally, the child in my belly can't be his. Looking at his out-of-control appearance, I can't help laughing. When he was in bed with Bella, he didn't consider at all whether I would be unhappy. The child, of course, is. I am just about to make up a father for the child. Mine. A deep voice sounds. I look up in surprise. Isn't this Sam? He pulls Felix's hand away and pulls me into his arms. He casually looks up at Felix. The child is mine. Do you have any objections? Who is Sam? He is a big shot in the financial circle in the Beijing circle. Just stomping his feet can make the financial circle shake. Felix, who is called the prince of the Beijing circle because of his family background, can't compare with Sam, who is a powerful ancestor relying on his strength. There is a flash of fierceness in Felix's eyes. Jenny, you are really capable. No wonder you insisted on breaking up with me. It turns out that you have hooked up with someone else long ago. Okay, since he has said so, I naturally have to satisfy him. I reach out and hug Sam's waist. I bury myself in his arms and coquettishly say, "Darling, my waist is so sore. The baby is torturing me again." Sam lowers his head and kisses me on the forehead lightly. It's been hard on you, Jenny. I'll take you home now. Then he picks me up horizontally. Without any warning, I immediately hug his neck in fright. My eyes are full of the shocking scene of him kissing me just now. Sam is about to leave with me in his arms. But Felix won't let me go and wants to pull me. Jenny, you must make it clear to me today. As a result, Sam kicks him to the ground. Your bride is not here. If your eyesight is bad, I don't mind helping you change a pair of eyeballs. I, who am relieved, want to applaud the big shot. This kick is right on my mind and lets me vent my anger thoroughly. At this moment, Bella and the guests who are watching the excitement also find us. When they see this scene, they immediately fall silent. Bella trots over and wants to help Felix up. But he pushes her away. Get lost. All of you get lost. Bella chokes and says, Felix, our wedding. I told you to get lost. Did you hear me? Immediately, the trash can in the corridor is kicked over and makes a muffled sound. Sam holds me and leaves the hotel. Seeing that he is about to put me in his car, I quickly support the car door with my hand. Mr. Cheen, you can put me down now. Sam carefully puts me down. I straighten my skirt. Thank you very much for your help today, Mr. Cheen. It's getting late. I have to go home. Sam seems to be amused by me. Jenny is still as ruthless as before. When you ask for help, you call Daddy or Darling. When there's nothing, you call me Mr. Cheen. My footsteps to leave suddenly stop. We haven't seen each other for 6 years. Why can he still recognize me? I force a smile twice. Uncle Cheen has a really good memory. Uncle Cheen? Sam pronounces each word slowly, with a serious expression. Am I very old? Old? I quickly shake my head to deny it. He is the most handsome man I have ever seen. It's just that he is more calm and restrained than 6 years ago. That innate temperament makes people feel that everything is under his control. I can only explain, according to seniority, I should address you like this. But he says, I still like you to call me by my name directly like before. Regarding the topic of the past, I try my best to avoid it. In the past, I was young and didn't know etiquette. You are a big person and don't remember the faults of a small person. Just forget about the past. Forget? Forget that you took my first kiss and then abandoned me after having your way? His lips part slightly and he casually throws out a thunderbolt. First kiss? Abandon after having one's way? I am so scared by his words that I lean against the car door. Suddenly he puts his arm around my waist and then leans forward. My heart is pounding. I reach out and put my hand on his chest, feeling guilty. You? Are you mistaken? When did I kiss you? He chuckles and opens the car door. It's not until I sit in the car that I realize that he didn't want to kiss me just now. I sit close to the car door, so embarrassed that I want to find a crack to crawl into. Whether it's 6 years ago or 6 years later, our first meeting always starts in a dramatic way. When I first met Sam, I was still in my second year of high school. My mother died of illness when I was young. It was my father who raised me with all his love. When I was in high school, my father's focus shifted from me to work. At that time, he often traveled on business and I could hardly see him. So when I came home from school and saw a man's back on the sofa, without thinking, I directly pounced on him from behind the sofa and excitedly put my arms around his neck. Dad, you are finally back. I miss you so much. But then a strange voice with a smile came, little friend, it's not a good habit to recognize Dad wrongly. Later I learned that he is my father's friend and 12 years older than me. Whenever I think of that scene, my toes almost want to dig out a castle. Sam takes a pillow and lets me put it behind my back. Noticing his gaze on my stomach, I know he has misunderstood. I quickly explain, it's fake. To deceive the scumbag. Sam murmurs, fortunately. Fortunately what? Sam relaxes and leans on the seat. Fortunately it's fake. Otherwise, your father should be angry. I am silent and don't say anything. Even without the child thing, it's enough for my dad to be angry when he knows I've been cheated on. Felix started chasing me since my freshman year. He is a popular figure in school. He has a good family background and good looks. He is a typical tall, rich and handsome guy. But it is rumored that he is famous for being fickle and playful. There are countless love debts. For such a playboy like him, I kept a respectful distance at first. But no matter how many times I refused, he didn't give up. He put down his young master's airs and did everything to please me. Gradually, the wind direction changed. He became affectionate and single-minded. Behind him, he was jokingly called the Prince of the Beijing Circle, who is a lovesick puppy for love. Later, Bella kept speaking well of him and helping him find opportunities to approach me. Gradually, I also saw his sincerity. On graduation day, he confessed to me again, Jenny, will you be my girlfriend? I will always spoil and love you. I believed him, but it turns out I was wrong. When I was wholeheartedly preparing a birthday surprise for him, he was in bed with my best friend. After catching them in bed, I proposed a breakup. But he didn't agree. Jenny, I have been abstinent for you for 4 years. Now it's just a small mistake after drinking. You want to break up? It's too much of a fuss. He pestered me in every possible way. It seemed that I was fussy. Everything was my fault. It wasn't until Bella sent me a photo of her pregnancy test report that I knew they had been secretly together for a long time. One drunken indiscretion is a mistake. But what about again and again? When he pestered me again, I slapped him in public and told him to get out of my world. This breakup was very ugly. Felix, who had lost face, finally stopped. Until he suddenly wanted to marry Bella and called me to ask if I regretted it. How confident he is that I will regret getting rid of a scumbag. And my attitude led to them deliberately disgusting me at the wedding. Jenny, do you still like him? My thoughts are pulled back by Sam. I shake my head at him. Scumbags are not worth it. He nods, seemingly very satisfied with my words. After sending me downstairs to my house, he also gets out of the car and goes upstairs with me. At the elevator entrance, I finally can't help but speak up and politely refuse. There's no need to send me anymore. I can go up by myself. He raises his eyebrows and the corners of his mouth curl up in a smile. I'm not going to send you. I also live upstairs. Amidst an awkward atmosphere, I quickly fled back home. I sighed inwardly that when I grew up, my skin wasn't as thick as before. In the past, I was the kind of person who would act recklessly and make a scene in front of him without restraint. It's a pity that everything changed since my 18th birthday. I didn't expect to run into him today. At night, when I was half asleep and half awake, I heard the doorbell ringing continuously and the door being pounded loudly. I got up and walked to the door. Through the peephole of the video doorbell, I saw Felix outside. He seemed drunk, staggering from side to side and constantly knocking on the door. Jenny, come out. I will strangle your adulterer. I gave you my heart and soul, but you cuckolded me. Is it just because he is richer than me? I am also rich. But you don't want my money. I had a headache. This scumbag was blaming me instead. Without saying a word, I directly picked up my phone and called the police. In a few minutes, the police arrived at the scene and were about to take him away. The drunk Felix actually started fighting with them. Do you know who I am? Go and ask around. If you dare to touch me, I will make you lose your job tomorrow. Of course, the final result was that he was directly subdued on the ground and got a pair of silver handcuffs. I thought that finally it could be quiet. Unfortunately, just after lying down for a while, someone pounded on the door again. Along with crying, Jenny, give Felix back to me. The child can't live without a father. Being interrupted in my sleep several times really made me angry. I picked up a baseball bat and angrily pulled open the door. If the tiger doesn't show its power, do you think I am a sick cat? Outside the door, my baseball bat was directly pointed at Bella's face. Her face turned pale and she immediately knelt down in front of me. Jenny, I have already married Felix. Don't compete with me for him anymore, okay? The neighbors on the same floor had already been woken up. Now they were all watching the excitement through the cracks in the door. In this scene now, I became the arrogant mistress who bullied others, and she became the pregnant and pitiful legal wife. I was about to start a quarrel with her when a group of doctors in white coats came pushing a wheelchair. Sorry, it was our hospital's negligence that let this mental patient run out. Then, to my shock, Bella was tied onto the wheelchair by them and taken away. The person at the end was also responsible for explaining this farce to the neighbors who were watching. With my mind full of question marks, I was about to close the door when several policemen came again. Miss Jiang, was it you who called the police just now? Haven't you already taken the person away? I asked in confusion. Could it be that the policemen who came before were not the ones I called? It wasn't until I received a message from Sam on my phone, Jenny, good night. I realized that everything was done by him. No wonder the police arrived a few minutes after I called. After seeing off the policeman, I lay back on the bed again and looked at that message for a long time. Finally, I also replied with a good night. On the message interface, the last time we contacted was the night before my 18th birthday. Sam, I want a Disney Castle cake. Pink one. I demanded it as if it was a matter of course. And Sam's answer was also full of indulgence, as you command, dear little princess. My birthday party was arranged by Sam. In the castle full of flowers. That night, I was wearing a princess dress and was surrounded and envied by countless people. When the music started, a boy came to invite me to dance. He was wearing a white suit and looked just like a prince in a fairy tale. But I refused him and ran to find Sam in the corner. Arrogantly, I said, why don't you invite the princess to dance? Sam took a sip of wine. There was a depth in his eyes that I couldn't understand. The princess should dance with the prince. I am not. This was the first time he refused me. I was a little unhappy. Whoever the princess wants to dance with is the prince. Sam didn't answer and turned to go outside the castle to smoke. That day, my father was working abroad and couldn't come back. After Sam left the scene, no one dared to control me anymore. I boldly drank alcohol. When the crowd dispersed and Sam returned to the banquet hall, I was already drunk. He came to check on me, but I acted recklessly and sat on his lap. I pulled his tie and kissed him. It wasn't until I heard the sound of something falling behind me that I woke up. The child is drunk, he explained to my father, who had rushed back from abroad. I cooperated and closed my eyes and pretended to sleep. After waking up, no one mentioned what happened that night. Sam moved out from next door to my house overnight without leaving any words. I also changed the college entrance examination application that he had helped me choose before from a local university in Shanghai to a university in Beijing. At my workstation in the company, I stretched. These days without Felix bothering me are really comfortable. But before I could be happy for long, Felix sent Bella to work in a high-profile way. Bella was wearing famous brands and had a diamond ring on her hand that was so dazzling. Then she sweetly gave an expensive bottle of perfume to each colleague. As if she remembered that she hadn't given me one, she came to me and said apologetically, "Jenny, sorry. I forgot to buy one for you. But you probably don't like it anyway." I rolled my eyes and laughed. "Why does your husband still let you work while you are pregnant? Is he bankrupt and can't support you anymore?" Only people in the circle know that her wedding was neither fish nor fowl. Felix's parents didn't look up to her at all and didn't attend on the wedding day. And the wedding only went halfway. What she is like now is just deceiving people who don't know the inside story. Bella's face stiffened for a moment and then immediately became coquettish again. "Jenny, your words are too harsh. My husband loves me so much. How could he be willing? I found it boring at home and insisted on coming out to work. He can't do anything about me. Besides, I also miss the days with everyone." The colleagues around began to flatter her and said that she had married a good man. I smiled and said nothing. I guessed that Bella coming to the company must not be a good thing. Sure enough, in less than a day, the way my colleagues looked at me became more and more strange. Their seemingly invisible gazes were fixed on my stomach. I slowly curled my lips. This Bella really lived up to my expectations. The rumors about me on the anonymous industry interaction forum became more and more intense. I pretended not to know and did what I should do as usual. After a few days, my father happened to come to Beijing on a business trip. When I got off work, he came to pick me up in a Maybach. I rushed over and gave him a passionate hug. "Naughty girl. After growing up, you are still not steady at all." My father's words were full of disgust, but the smile on his face didn't diminish. I said with a smile that I missed him and asked him to take out my gift. Although my father was surprised why I was so strange today, he still gave me the gift. I deliberately opened the gift on the spot. Pink diamond necklace, high-end custom bag. Each piece was extremely expensive. The next day when I went to the company again, my colleagues began to be sarcastic to me and deliberately insinuated, "It's good to be beautiful. Find a few sugar daddies. You can earn in one night what ordinary people can't earn in a lifetime." Bella chimed in, "It may not be that kind of relationship. What if it's true love?" Some colleagues laughed. "True love? True love for old men? The stomach is big but there is no status." After they had ridiculed enough, they began to compare. "Bella, you are the one with true love. Your husband loves you so much. He picks you up at the company every day." Bella smiled and didn't say anything. I was wearing loose clothes to cover my stomach and didn't care about other people's gazes at all. At the end of work, I took my bag and left. As soon as I got to the underground garage by elevator, I was forcibly pulled over by a pair of hands. My back hit the wall hard. My jaw was tightly pinched by a hand. The pain made me unable to speak for a moment. "Jenny, you are just a broken thing that can be slept with for money. And you still care about whether I cheated or not." Felix's eyes were bloodshot. He gritted his teeth and threw the photo of me hugging my father on my face. "How much do you cost for one night? I will give you 10 times. I am more useful than those old men you found. I guarantee that I will make you." I kneed him hard in his lower body. He let out a low cry of pain and released his hand. He bent down with his body twisted. I picked up my bag and swung it at his face. "What are you? I would rather like old men than you." "Jenny, I will make you regret it," he said angrily. The car I was driving made a sharp turn and headed towards him. The tires made a harsh sound as they quickly rubbed on the ground. The car suddenly stopped 1 centimeter away from Felix. Felix's face turned pale and he sat slumped on the ground. I sneered. Just kidding. What are you afraid of? When I returned to the community, I just parked my car when I saw Sam, who also got out of his car. I nodded at him as a greeting. He didn't speak. His gaze fell on my face with a hint of anger. I touched my faintly aching chin and felt guilty. This feeling was the same as every time I made a mistake and saw him 6 years ago. He walked up to me and naturally lifted my chin. The warm touch from his fingertips and his close proximity at this moment made my heart miss a beat. I uncomfortably turned my face away. Nothing, I said sullenly. But he took my hand and silently entered the elevator. I wanted to pull my hand out but somehow didn't dare to move. Now he looked a little fierce. I let him take me back to his house and was made to sit on the sofa. I looked at the layout and decoration of his house. It was very consistent with his personality. Low-key and restrained yet with a hidden edge. With his status, he could live in any luxury mansion or villa. But he had to move to this community. A secret thought couldn't help but arise in my heart. Could it be related to me? My thoughts were interrupted by his approach. He took out ointment and lifted my face to gently apply the medicine for me. I held my breath and looked at his handsome and profound features. My gaze slid to his lips. I suddenly remembered that kiss back then. My throat involuntarily moved. The feelings of youth at that time evoked evil thoughts again at this moment. Jenny, what do you want to do? The warm breath brushed against my face. I came to my senses and found that we were very close. Unconsciously, I raised my head and leaned closer, almost kissing him again. The embarrassment of being exposed made my face flush instantly. I hurriedly moved aside to the side of the sofa. My heart was beating violently. My mind was in a mess. I spoke randomly, "Do you have any wine? I want to drink." He was stunned by my request. "No. I quit." "Oh. Then forget it. I want to go back and sleep." I wanted to run without even putting on my shoes. But he grabbed me. Half an hour later, various wines filled his table. "Choose whatever you like to drink." Actually, I didn't have any particular preference. I am not a person who loves drinking. I only drink occasionally on work occasions. It was just that my mind suddenly short-circuited just now and I said it randomly. But Sam took it seriously. I suddenly wanted to hear the words he had said to me countless times in an indulgent tone, "As you command, dear little princess." At that time, he was always like this. He satisfied all my unreasonable demands. It seemed that I was really a high and mighty little princess in his heart, but now I have grown up. I am not the little princess who can act willfully at that time. I casually pointed to a bottle of red wine and asked him to open it for me. Then I drank one cup after another. He held my hand to stop me. "Jenny, is there something unhappy? You can tell me." I pushed his hand away in anger. He wouldn't understand at all. That kiss back then made him move so quickly that he didn't even leave a single word. After he left, I could only suppress all those girlish thoughts and cautious probes at the bottom of my heart and escape. When I didn't know how many cups I had drunk, I started talking nonsense. While crying, I said, "Sam, you are just a pig. You actually refused when I invited you to dance. Am I still your dear little princess?" I shook his arm vigorously. He kept wiping my tears and coaxing me, "Jenny, it's all my fault. Don't cry anymore." "I will cry. I will cry. Are you tired of me?" "I'm not." "You are. I kissed you and you ran away. You just despise me. And you still dare to say that I abandoned you after having my way?" "I didn't despise you. I just..." After a pause, he sighed. "You were too young then. I was afraid that you didn't recognize your own feelings." "I'm young? Where am I young?" I covered my chest and cried even louder, "Men are all no good." Sam helplessly put his hand on his forehead. I shouldn't discuss these things with a drunk person. The next day I woke up in Sam's bed, vaguely remembering those absurd scenes last night. I wanted to bury myself. The mobile phone on the bedside rang. It was a message from him. He reminded me to drink the hangover soup prepared in the kitchen and also told me not to forget to have breakfast. He had already asked for leave for me at the company. His absence at home made me relieved. At least it wouldn't be so embarrassing early in the morning. In the afternoon, I went to the company. What greeted me was Bella's anger. "Did you arrange for someone to beat up Felix?" I was full of question marks. Then I thought of something and smiled. "Ah, was he beaten up? Is it serious? Did he break an arm or lose a leg? Do I need to send a wreath?" Bella pointed at me and said you for a long time. Finally, she cursed, Don't think that just because you are with Sam you are great. At most, he just treats you as a lover. No, not even a lover. You are just a tool for his lust. I directly slapped her. Sorry, my hand slipped. She covered her face and was about to fight me with a resentful look. But when colleagues came over, she pretended to be a poor little white flower. She exaggeratedly said how I bullied her. Colleagues were used by her as guns to verbally attack me and collectively isolated me. They also kept setting me up at work. A few days later, Felix suddenly cooperated with my company. Then my proposal draft was named after Bella and was adopted by the company. Everyone cheered for her and was ready to celebrate. Did you do this proposal, Bella? I directly questioned. Before Bella could answer, a colleague chimed in, if it's not done by her, is it done by you? I ignored her and questioned Bella again. I did it. She lied without blushing or beating her heart. She had done this proposal draft before, but it was rejected. Later, I stayed up late for several days to redo it. On the day when the proposal was about to be completed, coincidentally, my computer was accidentally splashed with water by her. She kindly let me use her computer to finish it. Now I realized that everything was premeditated. Just like when she first approached me and became friends with me, it was just to get in touch with Felix through me. Aren't you afraid that in the end the truth will be found out and you can't stay in the company? Her expression was a little stiff. She continued to be stubborn and insisted that I stole her labor. I was so angry that I wanted to laugh. I retrieved the background editing time record of my proposal. Except for the small details to be perfected at the end which were completed on her computer, the rest were traceable. Bella, what evidence do you have to prove that the proposal is done by you? She stammered for a long time and couldn't explain clearly. Finally, she cried aggrievedly, okay. You have a powerful sugar daddy. If you want to take credit, I'll give it to you. It's all my fault, okay? Felix, who came to the company to discuss cooperation, appeared just at this time. Bella threw herself into his arms with tears in her eyes and pretended to be pitiful. Felix immediately became a good husband and wanted to stand up for her. Finally, this matter was brought to the leader. The leader, in order to please Felix, told lies with his eyes open and determined that I wanted to steal Bella's credit. Felix looked down at me arrogantly and asked me to kneel down and apologize to Bella. I sneered, if I don't apologize, what are you going to do to me? If you don't apologize, just wait to be fired. Do you think which company will dare to hire a person with a plagiarism stain at that time? This pair of scumbag and bitch are really a perfect match. Bella, who was just pitiful and aggrieved, is now waiting for me to apologize with arrogance. I bent down. There was a burst of ridicule around. I straightened up my shoelaces and stood up with a smile, using power to suppress people? Don't I know how to do it too? The onlookers who thought I was going to kneel down saw that I was just teasing them. The smiles on their faces disappeared. I calmly made a phone call to my dad. In less than 2 minutes, the company's leaders and executives came to me with cold sweat on their faces. Missy, I didn't know you were the daughter of Chairman Jiang. This leader and executive is just a professional manager hired by my dad. The actual controller behind the company is my dad. The people around who heard this title all changed their expressions. Bella pointed at me, her voice trembling. Didn't you say your dad is just a small businessman? Compared with the richest man in the world, it is indeed a small business. Is there a problem? I innocently spread out my hands. I chose this company for my graduation internship just because I wanted to familiarize myself with my own business early. By the way, the person who was hugging me in the garage that you slandered is my own dad. Not a sugar daddy. I have screenshots of all the posts slandering me on the forum. Slandering is legally liable. I kindly reminded. The colleagues who were just on Bella's side all came closer to me and said that they were all deceived by Bella. It's really ironic. Bella seemed to find it even more difficult to accept my identity. Her face was distorted. You are lying. Didn't you also hook up with Sam? The illegitimate child in your belly is still there. I took off my loose coat and revealed my slender waist. When did I have an illegitimate child? Bella frantically called me a liar one after another. She has been secretly competing with me all along. Competing in family background, appearance, ability, and who is more important in Felix's heart. But she is inferior to me in every way. And Felix, who just forced me to kneel down, is even more ridiculous. He held my shoulder, his eyes full of surprise. Jenny, it turns out that you were all lying to me. You deliberately wanted to anger me. You still love me, right? His hand on my shoulder was lifted off. Sam didn't know when he appeared. He held my waist like declaring sovereignty. His eyes were cold. Jenny is my girlfriend. I hope young Master Fu will respect himself. Jenny, tell me that what he said is false. Felix didn't believe it at all. His eyes looking at me were full of hope. He really makes me sick now. Just now he wanted to suppress me and slander me. Now he looks so affectionate. I looked at him coldly. Whether I am single or in a relationship is none of your business. We are already over. You don't need to pretend to be affectionate. It makes me sick to see it. He staggered, as if he had been hit hard. I didn't want to stay here and be watched like a monkey anymore. I pulled Sam and wanted to leave. In the hospital, I looked at the hideous wound on Sam's hand and was angry and distressed. The doctor sewed his wound. Who knew that she suddenly lost control? At some point, she had a utility knife in her hand and was about to slash at my face. I was shocked. Jenny! Two urgent shouts sounded. When I opened my eyes, Sam's hand was in front of me. The back of his hand was covered in blood. And Bella was pushed by Felix in a hurry. Her head directly hit the wall. Her forehead was bleeding. She fainted on the ground. Soon there was blood under her body. In the hospital, I looked at the hideous wound on Sam's hand and was angry and distressed. The doctor sewed his wound without him even blinking. He still had the mood to cover my eyes. Jenny, don't look. It's too ugly. My throat was like being blocked by something. It was extremely uncomfortable. I took his hand that was covering my eyes and bit it. Sam, are you stupid? Have you watched too many idol dramas? Can't you just push me away? You have to block it with your hand. He stroked my face with his hand. Jenny, I'm sorry. I didn't think so much at that time. When he said this, I became even angrier. It wasn't his fault. Why apologize? You are just a pig. I will go and kill that surnamed Chen. Jenny. He held me back, who was impulsive, and directly hugged me in his arms. It's okay. It doesn't hurt. I couldn't control my tears anymore. I buried my head on his shoulder and cried. How could it not hurt when the flesh was torn? In the end, the doctor coughed a few times and reminded me, little girl, don't cry. Your boyfriend's hand is not broken. Change the dressing frequently later and don't touch water. The wound will heal soon. I looked up and retorted, I don't have such a stupid boyfriend. The doctor gave us a meaningful look. It's not your boyfriend. Well, that's good. My daughter is still single. After he finished speaking, he was about to ask Sam for WeChat. Sam turned to me and asked, do you want to give him WeChat? I glared at him, how dare you? The doctor let out a hearty laugh and shook his head. He left with good sense. Jenny, you have ruined all my peach blossoms. Do you think I will be single all my life? He put such a big blame on me. I won't take it. He looked at me and said slowly, if it weren't for you calling daddy one by one 6 years ago, maybe my child could already buy soy sauce. His words made me feel guilty and look away. In high school, I always liked to pester him and run to his house every day. Either going to his house to freeload a meal, or asking him to explain questions to me, or giving him the small burnt biscuits I baked. Even for parent-teacher meetings, I pestered him to attend for me. As soon as he arrived at school, he was liked by my classmate's sister, who wanted to add his contact information. At that time, driven by possessiveness, I held his arm and called Daddy. It shocked my classmate to the point of doubting his own sanity. Didn't you say he is your uncle? You remembered wrong. This is my dad. After that, such things were also very common. Whenever I pulled him to accompany me shopping or eating out, there would always be people who wanted to talk to him. And I always ended his peach blossoms with a timely daddy. Jenny, don't you owe me a girlfriend? Sam suddenly leaned closer. The affection in his eyes seemed to overflow. My heart couldn't help but beat wildly. He likes me and wants to be with me, right? I impulsively wanted to say that I would compensate him with myself. But at this moment, the door was pushed open. The doctor came back. You should pay attention to the occasion anyway. My ears turned red. Just now Sam's posture of leaning over really looked like he was going to kiss me. Because of the doctor's appearance, this topic ended without a problem. In the next month, he didn't mention it again. I began to suspect that I had misunderstood, and Felix, whom I hadn't seen for a while, appeared again like a dog's skin plaster. He ran to the company every day to send me flowers and various gifts and was extremely attentive. I couldn't wait to smash his face with something. Felix, can you stop bothering me? Go and show your attentiveness to Bella. Only after I finished speaking did I remember that Bella is still in prison. Charges such as intentional injury and slander are enough for her to stay in prison for several years. And the child in her belly was also lost because of Felix's push. Her family made a big fuss with the Fu family for a long time. Finally, the Fu family gave a large sum of money and this matter calmed down. Jenny, I have nothing to do with her. We didn't get a marriage certificate and the wedding didn't finish. I am still single. What does it matter to me whether you are single? I am not a garbage recycling station. Felix started kneeling down and slapping himself again. His expression was crazy. Jenny, I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me? I didn't sleep with her on purpose. I was drunk and she seduced me. You are the only one in my heart. When I heard this, I only felt suffocated. Scumbags will never find the reason from themselves. After Sam learned about this matter, he didn't know what he negotiated with the Fu family. Felix never appeared in front of me again. It was only later that one day I received a strange call. It was from him. He just simply said sorry and hung up. When I got off work, Sam came to pick me up. His face didn't look good. Later, I only found out by looking at moments. On that day, a sentence was playing on taxis and outdoor electronic displays all over the city. Jenny, I was wrong. I really love you. This incident once made it to the hot search. Just when everyone was about to eat melons and dig deeper, the hot search quickly disappeared. I was glad that Sam quickly suppressed this matter. Otherwise, when I saw this sentence all over the street, I might just be so embarrassed that I would want to dig through the earth. After that, Felix was sent abroad by his parents. Not long after, news came that he was drunk and hit someone abroad. After that, there was no more news about him. And on my 24th birthday, Sam rented out the entire Disneyland to celebrate my birthday. Time seemed to go back to 6 years ago. Only this time, when I walked down the stairs wearing a princess dress, I waited for my beloved person. My dear little princess, would you like to dance with me? I put my hand in his and expressed my willingness with actions. He smiled and pulled me into his arms by putting his arm around my waist. Jenny, may I kiss you? I murmured shyly, are you capable? Do you have to ask this? And he also proved with actions whether he was capable. His kiss was gentle and affectionate at first, and then it became violent like a storm, taking over. It wasn't until later when we were on the bed that I knew that all that gentleness was an illusion. This was a wolf who had been hungry for many years and was never satisfied. After getting married to Sam, I learned that he had liked me as early as 6 years ago. But he had always suppressed and restrained himself because of our age difference. He thought that I was too young to understand the difference between family affection and love. He was also afraid that when my mind was still immature, I would make a wrong choice and regret it in the future. The reason he left after I kissed him on my 18th birthday was that my father saw his feelings for me. And in my father's questioning, he admitted it. He felt guilty and couldn't accompany me as an elder. So he had to choose to leave. In the following years, he didn't dare to appear in front of me. When he missed me too much, he would secretly watch me from the dark. He had watched me so many times. He knew how many people liked me and pursued me. But I didn't agree to any of them. At that time, he would secretly be glad and think that I still had him in my heart. He started to quit smoking and drinking, insisted on exercising, and strictly adhered to a healthy schedule. The 12-year age difference was a problem he had to consider. He wanted to accompany me for a longer time. He came on my graduation day. Originally, he wanted to confess to me, but someone got there first. He watched me helplessly as I agreed to someone else's confession and finally left sadly. It was false to say that he wasn't annoyed or regretful. He often thought that if he had been more despicable at the beginning, would the result not be like this? He no longer dared to inquire about my life and began to force himself to spend all his time on work. But later he still couldn't help it and secretly went to see me again. It was also him who found out that Felix was cheating. The text message asking me to catch them in the act was anonymously sent to me by him. Later, I resolutely gave up Felix. He saw hope again. This time, he firmly appeared in front of me and no longer retreated because of any obstacles. The seed deeply buried in my heart when I was young finally took root and sprouted and saw the light of day again.